Yeah, Mitra, you can start for the day. Samitra, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please start for the day.
A very good morning to one and all here. It is my privilege to welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Venkata Serish Gandikota. He is a frugal innovator and impact investing evangelist, podcaster, coach, mentor, and a keynote speaker. He is passionate about impact investing, frugal innovation, circular economy, AI for social good, customer success, management strategy, and new business development. With more than 19 years of work experience, he helps organizations and individuals in changing their mindsets and in adding new skill sets to realize the UN Sustainable Development Goals. As a founding partner of Vault Impact, he helped raise 17.5 million euros for an impact investing VC fund. Previously, as CEO of Indian Consulting, he helped connect Finnish and Indian businesses based on his experience with the Indian market, while also realizing the need for affordable and sustainable solutions for Finland and other European markets. He started the non-profit association called Frugal in late 2013. He has developed and implemented customer success strategy, operations, brand management, digital promotions campaigns, and coordinated creative teams. Venkata is a leading organizer and event producer for InnoFrugal, a two-day innovation and thought leadership conference held annually in Finland since 2014. This conference has now an annual UK edition at Judge Business School in Cambridge University and a German edition in Stuttgart with Fraunhofer IAO. He has written articles focusing on frugal innovations in peer-reviewed journals, Finnish media, and on various online entities. Venkata is also a guest lecturer at various universities in Finland and abroad and speaks about frugal innovation and impact investing to international business students and executive MBA program students. He holds a bachelor's in chemical engineering from India and a master's in environmental engineering from USA. We feel very privileged to have you among us, sir.
Thanks, Samitra, for this introduction of our today's guest. Uh, Moving on to the discussion about exactly for today's session. Briefly, I would like to tell what exactly the SOCH is. Once India is into the presidency of the G20, we collaborated with ACIC Foundation and tried to actually ideate with the professionals, those who are here, either in-house, that is within the India, or of course overseas at these G20 nations and other global countries, those who are sitting and those who are actually in shape of in position of ideating or in position of actually giving the ideations how these countries are actually practicing. And that particular SOCH, that is SOCH, is the acronym which we are using. And the full form of that acronym is Socio-Economical, Cultural, Organizational Practices with Harmony of among G20 nations. That is how the G20 nations, we keep on doing this SOCH program for the weekends. Professionals across globes are actually coming in, sharing their practices, what those countries or what other global countries and the nations are practicing, as per the domain expertise of that particular professional, those who are actually coming in as a guest speaker. And we keep on actually sharing Indian per se exercises or practices for that particular domain domain subject also. So today's for our event, Mr. Venkata is there. So just moving on or taking what all those were actually read out by our volunteers and Mitra. I would like to know about what this exactly this frugal innovation and how your journey is into this frugal innovation.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Pradeep. Thanks for inviting me. And thank you, Sangamitra, for the nice introduction. Really appreciate it. Just as a note, how much time do I have?
Somewhere around 45 minutes to 50 minutes.
Okay, all right. So I'll know when to skip and which ones to concentrate on. Thank you so much again. So yeah, I'm very happy and I'm honored to be part of this conversation and give my talk here. Many thanks to you, Pradeep, for inviting me to be a speaker here. So I'll talk about my journey towards frugal innovation, how I was once a student, and then how from being a student, how I navigated my professional journey, doing different types of things, and how I ended up where I am. And then why I chose frugal innovation as something that I became passionate about and what I'm currently doing. So, and how it is relevant to India and the G20 nations. And yeah, so I'll put it into context. So just a moment. Yes. Are you able to see this?
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah. So let's go there. So I did my bachelor's in chemical engineering from Hyderabad. And then so this was back in 1999. So it's what, 24 years now almost since I graduated with my bachelor's. And, like a very typical South Indian guy, I wrote my GRE and TOEFL and then went to the US to do my master's. So I ended up in US and I ended up at Texas A&M University, Kingsville. And then I did my master's in environmental engineering. I graduated in 2002. Then I was in Boston. I was working as an environmental consultant. And then I read this book called The 2 Mile Time Machine. So this book came out in 2004, 2005. And then when I read the book, this was about climate change. And how were they talking about climate change was they're talking about past climate change in the, for millions of years and hundreds of thousands of years in history. So what they did was there was this group of researchers, glaciologists, etc., who went to Greenland. And then on Greenland, the thickness of the ice is more than 2 miles in certain areas. So they drilled a nice, kind of like, how you drill for water and everything, but instead they drilled for ice. And then they drilled all the way to the bedrock. And then, so they drilled 2 miles and then they got out the ice core. And then from that, they reconstructed past climate history. So how Earth was, 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, 5 lakh years ago, so on and so forth. So this was quite fascinating. I thought I wanted to do something in climate research. And then I was looking at opportunities and then I wanted to be in a place where I wasn't before. And then I found a research center in Finland called Arctic Center, which is on the Arctic Circle, actually, a bit up north to where I am right now. I'm in the Helsinki region right now. It's a bit in the south of Finland. So I went there in 2005 and have been in Finland ever since. So I went there as a researcher. I worked in the Ice and Climate Group. And in 2007, 2008, there was this International Polar Year. And then we were doing research in Spitsbergen, this small set of islands, almost, it's just 1,000 kilometers south of North Pole. And then we were on the northernmost island. We were doing the expedition as part of the International Polar Year. And, we saw some polar bears. We saw some different kinds of reindeer. You need to be, they teach you, how to use a shotgun because you don't want to be eaten by polar bears while out on the ice. You have to, fend for yourself. You got to get some driftwood and so on. So I was working in what you call clean rooms because the ice you get from these ice cores and so on, you need to make sure that they're not contaminated. So I was working in ice physics, ice chemistry. So I am pretty sure that I'm the first person from India who actually have ever been this north. Maybe there is somebody else after me, but I'm sure I was the very first person that was on this part of the island. Something based on that. So that was my past. But then what happened in 2011 was I started entrepreneurship. So I started helping Finnish businesses in India because I was doing this, and then I had a company called Engineer Consulting, and then immediately one thing I realized was, while helping these Finnish companies, it was the same then. It is still the same now. All the big Western companies, what they do is they have these incredible solutions, but when they come to India, and they try to sell the same product they have been selling in Finland or Europe or in America, and then they try to sell the same thing in India. Most often what happens is the Indian consumer, it could be a business consumer, or it could be an individual consumer. They say most of the time it's a great product, but we can't afford it. And I have seen this a few times play out. So then I was thinking of how should we get these Finnish and Nordic businesses, how should we get them to understand that they just can't sell whatever they're selling in Europe. They just can't sell the same product in India, but they have to create a product for the Indian market, right? And that product should be affordable, but also it should have good quality. Because the thing, I think even in India sometimes, I hear this, is we equate affordable solutions with low quality. But the idea is to create a good quality solution that is affordable and accessible. So I was thinking about this, and I came across this term called frugal innovation. And then I thought, like, I was with, working, collaborating with some Finnish colleagues. And then what we said was, let's start, talking about this and reaching out to, let's talk about this frugal innovation aspect, and then try to get businesses to understand and then create solutions. So we thought, like, the best way to go about it is do it under a non-profit umbrella in Finland, because, it's more about getting people to understand and do things. And under a non-profit umbrella, you could actually act as a consultant. You could do everything you want to do as a consulting business. You could work with businesses, create research projects and so on, which we do. You create workshops and so on. And so that's how the journey started in 2013. So in December 2013, we started it. So it'll be already 10 years in a few months when we started this Frugal entity. And then, we started doing events, we started doing workshops, so on and so forth. And I'll explain a bit later what else we have been doing. So we have few main activities. I want to talk about, like, what we do at Frugal. So we focus on innovation projects. So we work with the businesses, we work with the researchers, and we form project groups and project consortia, so that we could help especially business. One, we create frugal innovation related research. The other is applied research, like how can businesses actually create products. So we work together with partners that have their own competencies, and then do these innovation projects, which I'll talk about one of the projects that we're doing now. The Frugal conference, so we've been doing it annually since 2014. It's a flagship event. We actually have one in May. I'll talk a little bit about that at the end of this. We do impact investing, promote impact investing, because in 2017, when we were doing a conference, we had we have had impact startups coming up, and then we had an impact related pitching contest and so on. One thing is, when you're promoting frugal innovations, you need financial instruments that support these innovations. So if you're a company, if you're a business, then, or if you're a corporate, then maybe you have loans and so on. But especially if you're startups that are doing frugal innovations, these have impact. There is a social impact component, environmental impact component, but they are startups. They are not like NGOs. They're not nonprofits. So there is this special kind of investing that is available, and that has gained traction over the last 5 to 10 years, called impact investing. So we promote that concept. We do podcasts and workshops. We are a 5-member team. So some pictures from the conference that we do in Helsinki. And what we also do is, we have had thousands of attendees, a lot of startups that come and then that pitch at our event, that apply for our impact event to be part of the pitching contest, and a lot of impact investors that come and network with us and network with the attendees. And we also do a small grant money for the top winner, and we also do some coaching to these startups, these impact startups. one thing that we also do is we do a TEDx type licensing. You have, your TEDx events at different universities, and the same way we also do for the Frugal conference. We have been doing an annual event in Cambridge University for a couple of years before COVID hit, and since COVID, we have not done it again in Cambridge, but we plan to do it maybe sometime next year again. In Fraunhofer, in Stuttgart, with Fraunhofer, Fraunhofer is the largest R&D. It's like CSIR in India. It's the largest R&D institute in whole of Europe, the Fraunhofer Institutes. So in Stuttgart, we've been doing Frugal conference with them. We do a podcast with Jaideep from Cambridge University. That's something that I've been doing. So coming to this, so India wants to be a $5 trillion economy. But when we hear the Prime Minister say, and how can we contribute to that? The important thing we need to understand is, so there is development happening, but there is development happening in pockets in India. So in India, as you all know, probably we have India that is as good as any Western country, any developed country. But then we have pockets in India, that are probably from something that you think you read only, somewhere else in the past or something. So there is this huge discrepancy and inequalities in India. So it is the vision, I would believe, for the Prime Minister when he says, even if one district in the country lags behind on the parameters of development, that country cannot become developed. So this is something we also, and I also take to heart that thought process, and we all need to take to heart, because we need all regions and all sets of people from all walks of life to have a better quality of life, right? I won't go much into this, but there have been, the last 3 years across the world, the inequality gap has been increasing. But there have been specific statistics, especially to India, that, the first demonetization, then COVID, and then now, the inflation, these three things, they have become an issue where the rich have become more richer, and then the poor have been stagnant or becoming poorer. So what this is creating is wealth gap, and then and lack of access to good quality, affordable solutions. And then we believe frugal innovations are one great instrument to create, to lessen the wealth gap, and then so these people can become creators of those solutions, but also consumers of those solutions. Won't go much into that. So when we talk about frugal innovations, few things so we talk about value conscious and values conscious. So value conscious is, in a sense, like when we say, like, what's the value of this particular thing? It could be like, when you say, what's the price of this thing? Why does it cost so much? Or like, what value does this bring as a product or a service? Then the values itself are something like, what are values? I want solutions that are affordable for everybody. So I want solutions that are good for the earth. I want solutions that are, recyclable, so on and so forth. You have different sets of values, right? So those are the two things. Doing more with less and working under constraints. How do you innovate under constraints? How do you innovate where there are not enough people to do a job, where there are not enough financial resources, to complete or like to go from idea to solution, all these kind of things. But the other thing is, one thing that people have a misconception is frugal innovations are also maybe mostly, low-tech solutions or solutions that don't have high technology or new technology. But we want to say there are so many solutions that are there, and then new technologies are actually sometimes better if leveraged correctly to create affordable solutions. I just want to talk about, briefly, the underlying trends. There's this concept of design thinking, minimalism, and then climate change awareness, right? So design thinking is about like including the end user, and then it's also, the other name is also human-centered design and so on. There are like few different things that are floating around, but it's telling like, you can't think like, okay, I have a thought, I have this idea and I'll create a solution and a product or a service. But no, you have to take your end user into consideration. You have to have empathy, you have to have consideration and all these other things not just technical capability. You need to have these other things in a way that, this product is in the end a useful solution, not just from a social angle, but also from an environmental angle. Minimalism is more of a recent phenomenon. It's about not going excessive, not having too many things. It also comes from this, leads into this climate change related thing, because you don't want to use resources unnecessarily, because we do have this issue about climate change, global warming, and then the issue of trying to get to not more than 1.5 degrees Celsius at a global level, so on and so forth. So these are the kind of underlying trends that we see happening. And then when we talk about frugal innovation at InnoFrugal, we put it sometimes in context that people understand about, especially in the West and even in India. I don't know if I should ask how many of you actually know the term frugal innovation. Actually, when I ask Indians and Indian students, so when I was in GIET University in Odisha in January, and then I also teach to students here who are also Indians, when I go and do guest lectures, actually most Indians also don't know the term frugal innovation. But then we try to put it in the sense that maybe where they do understand. Maybe circular economy. Do you understand circular economy? Okay, then I will put it in that context. Do you understand open innovation? Okay, I'll put it in that context. Grassroots innovation, maker movement, this artificial intelligence for social good. So we try to put it in context that people understand, because what we believe is all those roads can lead to frugal innovation, because you need to have that mindset of how can I leverage something using a circular economy design process to create affordable, sustainable, accessible solutions, right? How can I leverage open innovation to create frugal innovation? So we put frugal innovation in this context. We have the sustainable development goals, and then we believe frugal innovations are the way to get to sustainable development goals. But how to get there? So I'll talk about a few examples that we have. If you have ever known, this was a very bad example of the exact opposite of a frugal innovation. I hope I want to show this. I hope you're able to hear it, but let me know if you're not able to hear it. Are you able to hear the volume? Pradeep?
No, sir. No.
You're not able to hear it.
No, it's not.
Okay, but anyway, this has this thing. I'll talk about it. So basically, in 2014, there was this Silicon Valley-based startup, that created this whole thing called Juicero, and they created this machine. All it does is, they sell their own juice, and then it presses this juice, and then the juice comes out. So for the machine, it costs $699 initially, but then they're lowered it to $399 or $499, whatever initially. But as you can see, what you can do, this whole thing of you could actually, hold the pouch and then press it and the juice will come out. But then they created this whole machine for it so that you put the pouch with the juice in it, and then you press the button, right? And then it comes down. So this is the exact opposite of, this is first world problems. How do we get juice? And then there was so many millions invested into it. I only bring this up because to show the absurdity sometimes of innovations. We need to understand, and when you live in a bubble, you can't think of why this is needed. So this shows the exact thing of when you live in a bubble that is away from actual needs of the people, you create solutions like this, right? So then I want to talk about, I put this in two sets. One is grassroots and startup innovation. The other one I want to talk about is corporate innovation. So when I was in Odisha, I don't know if I want to show this because you're not able to hear the volume itself. So in January, I was in Odisha, and we were speaking with this tribal farmer there. One of the things he said was, when I was speaking with him and talking with him is, and this is an issue we see in India, A lot of people don't want to do manual labor anymore. He himself has land. He has also been awarded by, recognized from the Prime Minister's office as a sustainable farmer for and so on and so forth. What issues he has is one, when he wants to get equipment, farm equipment, they are costly. The other thing is he's not able to get enough manual labor to support his farming. So two issues. And then I talked about with him okay, so what do you do? Do you do jugaad? Because if you go back, actually a step back, in India, we do jugaad all the time. And sometimes people try to mistakenly think jugaad is frugal innovation. Jugaad is not frugal innovation. Jugaad is a desperate cry for help, basically, because either you don't have access to something and then you're doing it by yourself, or something is unavailable, so you're doing it by yourself. But frugal innovation is the next step. It's much structured. It's something that you're able to do and make business out of. It's a step about jugaad. It's making something more structured, more good quality, in a way that is scalable and so on. So when I was speaking with him, so he was listing all the issues that he was facing, and then he showed me this equipment that he created. He did a jugaad of, basically. So when he was plowing the land, he needed something, that would dig into the land, that has teeth like this, but then also at the same time, it needed to have something that would, make the land after the plowing. It also needs to make it smoother. So he said such type of combination is not readily available from agricultural manufacturers, equipment manufacturers, and it would be like, if available, he thinks it is like very, very costly. And this one, he did a jugaad. All he had to do was spend 1,000 or 2,000 rupees from his pocket, and he was able to do the jugaad by himself. So there are so many of these, if you just go out into the field, in a sense, not just an agricultural field, but if you just go out, if you go into people's houses, you go into agricultural farms, you go to industry, you talk to business people, small and medium enterprises, you see a lot of places where people do jugaad, mostly out of frustration because they don't have a solution available. So this is obviously an opportunity. If a startup comes and say, I can create such a solution, maybe, but at a cost that is acceptable to farmers like him. So this is a great business opportunity. So just a thought. And so this is another example. So this that you're seeing right now, this is called a baby incubator. So babies, when they're born prematurely, before 9 months, right? So typically what they are done is they put them in something called a baby incubator. And these are very costly. Even in India, only hospitals that have a certain capability financially have this. And especially if you go to tier 2, tier 3 cities and rural areas, you will see almost less or zero of these kind of baby incubators. But premature babies are born everywhere, not just in tier 1 cities. They are born in rural areas and semi-rural areas too. So then what is the solution if premature babies are born, but then they don't have access to, life-saving equipment like this? So this was a question that was given as a project to Stanford students in 2009. And then what they did was the Stanford students, they were PhD students, and then but they were doing a special course in Stanford for a department called School for Extreme Affordability. And then there was a Nepal NGO that wanted to create an affordable baby incubator. So then they asked this question, and this is important if you are an innovator, especially if you want to be a frugal innovator, is what does this equipment actually do in a sense, and how is it done? So this incubator does a lot of things, but the most important thing it does is it keeps the baby temperature constant. Like, if it needs to be at 35 degrees Celsius or 30 degrees Celsius, or, whatever that baby temperature needs to be, human temperature, it's 36 degrees, 37 degrees Celsius, right? So it keeps that at the constant level. That is the very primary thing it does. So then, as you can see here, so then they didn't think like, okay, we should we should remove some wheels, we should remove something here and something here, and but the shape should remain the same as this baby incubator that you saw initially. No, they said like, let's create something that does this basic thing. And then they realized, they came up with this idea of, a small sleeping bag sort of thing. And then like is kind of like pouch in the back, like, for your backpacks where you put your laptop, there is, a separate pouch. So similar to that, they created a separate pouch where you could keep a phase change material. So this is something similar that you see, when you have, aches or pains, you heat up a heating pouch, but that heating pouch that you typically have, it doesn't last for many hours. This one actually has a very specific type of phase change material and lasts minimum for 6 hours to keep the heat at a constant level. So this actually is clinically tested. It is actually a lifesaver. They have sold more than 2 lakhs of these. They sell for around 10,000 rupees plus or minus. And they have not just been selling in India, they have also sold it in Africa and other countries as well. So just an idea of like what a frugal innovation can be like, and how thinking outside the box can help create a solution for price low income households in this case. And this is an example of what a air purifier can look like. But air purifiers, in India, places like India, we would need air purifiers, but air purifiers are quite costly, right? They could be, as costly as 15,000, 25,000, 30,000 rupees, and so on. And this example I'm going to talk about is he's Thomas Tauhelm. He's now a professor at University of Chicago Booth School of Business. But back in 2010, 2011, he was doing a PhD exchange in Beijing in China. And then, Beijing has always been known also similar to Delhi and Mumbai, one of these bad places for air quality, right? And then what he thought but he was a student, he didn't have, and then he was thinking like there was too much. I needed to have $400, $500 or even $1,000 if I want to have air purifiers in 2 rooms. And he said like, I'm not able to get that. What can I do? And then what he did, he said like, what is in this air purifier that makes it so costly? Why are they so costly, right? And then when he figured it out, what he did was most of these, if at the very minimum level, all they have is a fan. They have a HEPA filter and then the coarse pre-filter. And then he said like, he started doing experiments, being a researcher, so on. He said like, let me try to do some experiments. What he did was he took a table fan, he took a HEPA filter, he put a Velcro around it. So this is basic jugaad, right? He did this basic jugaad. He did like with the basic table fan and this kind of like a high velocity table fan, 2 types of table fans. And then he did particle counting. He took a particle counting meter, and then he started to see particulate matter, how this jugaad thing is doing, and then how the one that this IQ Air and so on that are like, sold for 15,000, 25,000 rupees, how are they doing? And then he has some graphs. There's so much more on his website. He was able to show that this does almost as good a job with respect to this basic jugaad thing, almost does as good a job as these things that they were selling for 15, 20,000, 25,000 rupees. So this is what he was showing like. So this is the original table fan, and then this was the high powered table fan. And then he was showing like, both for the 0.5 microns and 2.5 microns, how you can compare it to the ones Blue Air, Philips, IQ Air. And then this is basically how much they're costing. His cost is in the Chinese currency. But you can see cost-wise and performance-wise, the ones that he did as jugaad, they are as good. So they're just like, so what he did was he created a social enterprise. He started doing, he started selling these things, this jugaad thing. He said like, if you don't want to, he created a video and then you could do it by yourself. But if you don't want to do it by yourself, we'll sell it for you, all the contraption and everything. So he started doing that initially. And then what they did was, so these need not be just jugaad or things, like it could also be beautiful things. So what they actually did was they actually created much more nicer looking and a bit more powerful air purifiers, and they started selling in the US. And so they have different price points for India, China, US, and so on. And they started selling these in a way that started to make sense. So again, it comes down to, like, you need to understand why is something so costly, and then if you want to do something about it, try to understand the core of what it is doing. And then if you're able to nail that down, you're able to then take the steps to become a frugal innovator, basically. This is an example I'll skip a little bit, in a sense that it basically shows, this is something that you would see in a proper doctor's office that's testing your eyes. So they would test initially, like, you'll see the ABCDs and, you want to say the alphabet and so on. But after that, they'll ask you to put your chin somewhere and start looking into things, so on and so forth. So there are like a lot of different things. But what, I'm giving one example of a startup. There are a few different startups that are doing these things. Is they figured out our cell phones these days, they're quite powerful. And this is actually using new technology as a low-cost solution. Okay, yeah. What they have been doing is they have been using their own sensor, not sensor. So they have been using the mobile phone, and then they actually put something on top of it to make kind of like a magnifying lens. So this is something that kind of, you can talk about it as mobile health or digital health. And in a way, you could take this whole thing and they would teach healthcare workers how to use this as something that does all the core functionality of what this bigger equipment does. And this whole thing, because somebody already has a cell phone, the whole thing costs less than 10,000 rupees. Instead of, like, spending lakhs of rupees on an equipment like this. So this is another example of how you can try to think of, like, if you're thinking an equipment should only be like this for testing eyes, then you're missing the power of your mobile phone. There are actually so many other innovations that mobile phone does. Obviously, these days, one example I'm going to talk about is how this is a fintech solution these days. How this is also used for not just eye testing, but also for hearing and a lot of different things, and so on and so forth. So this one I want to talk about particularly, M-Pesa. M-Pesa is, we have all these, Paytms and QR-based UPIs and so on since the last 3-4 years that has gained more popularity. But M-Pesa was the original one. Back in 2005, 2006, M-Pesa was when it was first created, 2005, and then it was launched in 2007. This was launched in Kenya. So Kenya, like India, it's a developing country. A lot of people also don't have access to actual banking. So they don't have a bank account, but then if they need to transfer money and so on, they were having issues. So Vodafone in Kenya is called Safaricom. So what Safaricom in 2005 did was they thought, like, let's use then the latest technology, SMS based money transfer mechanism. And they were able to pilot it and promote it and able to convince their Reserve Bank, the Reserve Bank in Kenya, the central bank, to accept that this actually, this fintech solution that they have is actually a great solution. So before M-Pesa, most people in Kenya did not have access to formal banking services. So what M-Pesa did was, what we take for granted now, they could actually send money via SMS message. So basically, they go to the Kirana shop next door and they give money, and then using M-Pesa, they transfer it. Somebody else gets it. They go to the next Kirana store and then they take money. So it initially started as something like that. So if you think about it, they used the latest technology back then when nobody was using mobile-based, money transfer in any part of the world, not even in developed countries, right? So this led to a lot of financial inclusion, empowering people, so on and so forth. This was the example I was about to tell, but yeah. now I'll come to any questions. Maybe I won't take a break and then ask Pradeep, do you want me to take a break, or questions will only come later? I'm not able to hear you, Pradeep. I think you're on mute.
Yeah. So it's good to know that this Frugal innovation has a story sometimes back with the India.
Yeah.
And definitely, I would like to know how, as country per se,
Yeah.
suppose if I'm talking about Frugal innovation in Finland or European Union in terms of capitalization, how it is different, and what are the challenges in terms of India, of course, because we keep on doing only thing that is what you're talking about is Jugaad.
Yeah.
Either you talk about the machinery, farm equipments, or any other equipments. We keep on trying as per the Jugaad kind of technologies and Jugaad kind of people mindset or so. So how different it is once we are talking about the frugal innovation in terms of capitalizing these frugal innovations in Finland and of course in India also.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk a bit. So now this comes to in from European context, right? So this is White Paper. White Paper is one of the biggest paper machinery companies. So you use their machinery to create paper, like paper mills. They use their machinery, for example. So one of the things. So this is actually already like 8-9 years old. This conversation and then this use case that he talks about here. He, especially in the West, this happens also in India, is they think, we create this great product, it brings great value. But what he, as a, at the executive level here sees from the sales and then from feedback and surveys is their customers, especially in developing countries, they were asking for, a different type where they have like, they're not able to, they want to have a paper machine for their paper mill, but then they want it to be more affordable. But then he has to convince his employees that, whatever you're doing currently, it is a great product, but it is not good enough to sell in this particular market, let's say, for example, in India, because it's too high cost for them. So what they did was they developed what they call like beacon projects. These beacon projects, they identified their employees who volunteered or like, pick them up and say, come, let's work on this project. And then once they worked on the project, that was supposed to create this affordable paper machinery. After the project was over, these employees who thought like they don't need to create, more affordable solution because the current solution is quite good, they were actually convinced that yes, we can do this, and actually it is good for businesses because now they're diversifying their product portfolio, which is business 101. A business 101, and this is something that we as Frugal have been promoting, is if you go to India or if you go to Africa or countries in Africa and so on, don't try to sell your current thing, especially if it is too costly. Treat them as a proper marketplace where you want to grow. And if you do that, then you start creating solutions for that particular market. And then you will grow. You will have new customers, you will build up new capabilities, you'll build up new skill sets in your own company and so forth. You'll build new R&D techniques and so on. So anyway, this is something that they themselves learned, this company. I'll skip this. So this is Siemens Healthineers. So Siemens, as you know, is one of the biggest companies in the world. It's also a German company. And then the Healthineers is their health division. And then, so this particular example is from their radiology division. Radiology is something related to X-rays and everything. So when Siemens, they have this whole, because Siemens is a big company, they have obviously a market, not just in India, not just in Germany, but a lot of different countries. And obviously, because they're a bigger company, they are smart enough to understand that they need to provide different type of solutions for different markets. And they take this quite seriously. So what they do especially is when they're creating, their latest offering, they try to use components from their high-end thing that they're selling in, the most advanced hospitals in the West, and then taking also components from, the existing ones that we see in this X-ray machines that we see in diagnostic labs and hospitals in India. They take the best of them and combine to give the next generation for affordable markets. So I'll talk a little bit about that in the next couple of slides. So there are a couple of things. So they want to leverage two things: lower cost by highly integrated design, higher revenue. And then they also are realize that modular platform approach is the way to go because it has significant cost advantages. And then also they talk about like agile and lean management, so on and so forth. I won't go too much into this. We don't have also enough time. So on this left-hand side that you see, this is their high-end thing. And then, it is like the equipment is coming in from ceiling mounted and so on. And the right-hand side is something that you see typically in most places, in most hospitals in India, is like floor mounted. So, but then this is very analog, and the very advanced one is fully digital. What they did was, when they created this new affordable X-ray machinery, is they combined aspects from the very high end and then the very traditional low end. They combined the digital, but then they kept the floor mounted, and then they started reusing the software suite that they are using in the high end because it's also digital. And instead of wireless, they put wired, and certain different things. And then they were able to come up through their R&D and innovation teams, a solution that is also a lot better than the existing one here, but not as costly as the one that they're selling in the West. And then companies like, brands like Healthineers. So one thing that I want to emphasize here is, as we all probably know, or sometimes we might forget, is it is not only about creating a great solution with affordable pricing. There are a lot of things that makes a product successful. There is marketing, there is proper sales channels, right? Proper branding, proper business model. So many things have to come together to create actually a successful product. It's not like, you create a great product and sit and then like it goes well. Nothing happens like that. So then they leverage these as aspects. One, they created a great product, they know that. And then when they do that, they do the pricing game. So they don't go into trying to like match the lowest price, for example, on the market. They try to put it, because they have a brand value, they have a name recognition. They put the price in a way that is around 50% more than the lowest price. And then they also rely on their service servicing technicians that they have, their reputation and all these kind of things, and economics, but then they can have scale, right? Because they're a global company, they are in a lot of different countries, they're able to sell more. Because of scale, you are actually able to keep costs low and have more affordable solutions. So this is something for, innovators and others to think, and entrepreneurs to keep in mind, that it's not just about creating a great product, but it's also creating the story for it, the marketing, the branding, the sales, the communication, and all those things should also come together well. And in this respect, what I also want to say is, this is quite, when they want to put it in the 15-20% more than the lowest one, unfortunately, humans, it is actually great insight into how about human psychology. I myself, or we ourselves, we think like we never want to purchase the lowest one. We are always aspirational as humans. I think the poor people, they want to have what the middle class people have. The middle class want to have what the upper middle class want to have. The upper middle class want to have. The rich want to have, and the rich want to have what the very, very wealthy have. This is basic human psychology. So sometimes, even if you see a great product at a price, and then if you're doing it, somehow we are not buying that for, because of this human psychology and all these things. We are always thinking, oh, maybe that one is better because it is marketed to this other, For the poor, maybe it's marketed to the middle class. For the middle class, because it's marketed to the rich, maybe let's try to buy that one. So there are a lot of these things that go into. So it's not just about like creating a great product, but also having it in a way that is still affordable, but also playing this kind of thing that takes into consideration the human psychology, the branding, marketing, etc. We have an ongoing research project I just want to talk about. I'll just go ahead. So we have a consortium and we are doing this industry for Bosch Siemens home appliances, and there's a startup called Helios. So we are, Frugal is working together with VTT, which is also a CSIR type agency in Finland, Fraunhofer. Like I mentioned before, Agorize is an open innovation platform. Behavioral insights team is it does what they call like behavioral insights and nudge economics. So I'll show you briefly like what we are doing. So this current challenge is ongoing. So what Bosch Siemens wants to do, they have this ongoing in India, Turkey, and Germany, this challenge. They want to create more affordable kitchen appliances and home appliances. So for the Indian market, Frugal is in charge. And then they have a consumer group. They have consumer group is troubled families. Troubled families, what they mean by troubled families is families that have maybe your this family is earning 50,000 rupees a month or 25,000 rupees a month, but they don't have enough savings because their costs are high, maybe because they have kids, maybe they have parents living with them, so on and so forth, right? So these troubled families have kind of like living month to month. They don't have enough savings, they don't have enough purchasing power. So then there's minimalist singles and couples, these people who don't want to have too many things, but they want to have simple, affordable things and so on. And elderly people living alone. We also have this where, we have a lot of senior citizens who are living by themselves, in their separate homes. And something that is common to all of them is they want a relatively simple, good quality, affordable solutions. And Bosch Siemens, they want to target and create solutions, home appliances and kitchen appliances targeted at these people. So this is the first challenge. And the other one is solar-based, water treatment. And that's another challenge that will start later this year. So there are companies that are trying to do these things. And because it's just not, they're not doing anything for charity. They see this as kind of like real win-win-win. It's, giving solutions to sets of populations that do not have access to the solutions before. So they have also a new product portfolio. They have new level of customers. Again, they have, to create this, they need a new type of skills and innovation, so on and so forth. I want to quickly talk about impact investing as well. And like I mentioned in the very beginning, one of the things, the reason for impact investing is, and what do impact investors do is, they are like other venture capitalists, but with a very important difference. They are not just looking at financial returns when they invest in something, invest in a startup, but they're also looking at social impact metrics and environmental impact metrics. So this is quite important how they distinguish. So sometimes a lot of greenwashing and impact washing happens. So somebody can come and say, oh, I'm an impact investor. But we should be careful when they say that, because we should be able to understand, are they a proper impact investor? Obviously, you could go on the website or you could talk to the startups that they invested in and so on and so forth. Sometimes they just say something is impact. Anything can be an impact in some sense if it is so broad. But the impact, particularly in this case, is if an investor is saying that, oh, you are a startup, you're doing this great thing. Okay, I believe in your product, but I believe in you as an entrepreneur and I believe in your team. But what is, the societal aspect of what you do? Is there an environmental aspect of what you do? Can we then identify them and create them as metrics, this societal good that you're doing and environmental good that you're doing? Can we measure those things? So when an investor talks in this manner, then you have an impact investor. So for the type of purpose-oriented and idea-oriented and entrepreneurs, this is the type of investors that you should look for. This is still a very emerging phenomenon. in India, there is an industry body for this called the Indian Impact Investors Council, IIIC.in. You go there and then you could get a lot of information about them. There are more than 40 plus impact investors already in India. The impact investing, for example, in the Nordics is a little bit different because the Nordics, compared to even the rest of Europe and definitely compared to India, they always have had a very strong welfare system embedded into, the public sector. So in a sense, they have the type of impact investing is different, and the type of impact scene is a little bit different in the Nordic compared to India. I'll leave it at that for that particular thing. So frugal innovation, there has been, there have been businesses that are working on this, but there have been a lot of research works that have been done on this. At Aalto University, which is the biggest university in Finland, they have had few different projects where they work with, the digital aspects of frugal innovation and also product aspects of frugal innovation. Things have been done with in Norway, in Oslo, in Sweden, in Copenhagen, in Denmark. So there have been a lot of frugal innovation related research that has been done as a pure research and also applied research. So one of the things that I was asked is talk about how it is in Finland versus India, or Finland/Nordics, or Europe versus India. But I want to specifically talk about Finland versus India, students and studies. And then I have a slide on briefly the education system, in Finland and what it offers. So the important thing is, if you take the education system here, Finland is centralized, emphasizes equal access. So almost it is everything is government schools in the sense. They're you could count on the hand private schools in a sense, like in India, but then they are almost catering to very, very, very few people. And the government schools, the public schools are really, really good. And it's kind of like a human right for them. It's a basic thing in Finland that everything should be done via public school. The education system, it's centralized in that way. Curriculum, very student-centered. A lot of critical thinking and problem solving is embedded into this. Teachers have, the most respected professions in Finland consistently, where they say like we have trust in the system. Our police, more than 90% of Finns said they trust the police. And it's also the same with teachers. They trust teachers. More than 90% say they trust teachers and teaching and so on. It's a very, honorable position in Finland. It is similar in India. Teaching is we have, the Guru Shishya Sampradaya and everything, but it is also very commercial in India. So you don't have that in Finland. It's teaching is highly regulated. Nobody can just become a teacher like that, and so on and so forth. So that kind of thing is there. Student assessments and higher education. Higher education is free in Finland, just like elementary and how schooling is free. So is also bachelor's degree and master's degree and all those things. They're free in Finland. They have actually instituted just for the last 3 years. It used to be free even for foreigners coming mostly, but they started instituting certain amount, not as high as in US, UK and other countries, but they started charging fees for non-European citizens coming and learning. But for Finns themselves, it is free. They have great emphasis on investment and R&D. So if you think about students and studies, like there are some of these things that are a bit different compared to how it is in India. Yeah. Do I have enough time? No, it's already 8 o'clock. I can't hear you again, Pradeep. Pradeep, I can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, Venkata, we will be discussing in later sessions and later discussions also how these benefits of the frugal innovations. Good to know, of course, why this frugal innovation is there in place. In Indian context, if I see or if I place it, what all those you were actually placing it, the terminology can be the different in different countries and different continents and different locations.
Yeah.
Here in India, once we are doing or we are actually going for an innovation,
Yeah.
We keep on doing the need assessment. Prior
Yeah.
to go for any of the thing, we keep
Yeah.
on doing need assessment. If such things are not in place, that is need assessment. Because if I don't know what exactly my customers are actually looking for,
Yeah.
then I will not be actually giving good product or giving good services to them, or
Yeah.
as per the need of those particular people for whom I'm going to cater it.
Yeah.
Firstly, those things, the terminology can be the different.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And as far as this journey of this uh, frugal innovations of yours and how the frugal innovations comes into the place, India too is actually exercising these things, but
Yeah.
in terms of different mechanism and different terminology. But I'm happy to see this that in India, more of the startups or more of the innovations are being funded by either venture funding or VCs. And I was looking out for this particular system or the ecosystem where social entrepreneurs, those who are those who are working for the people, those who are working for the societies, and they have, of course, these metrics of what is that impact assessment being called off. So they know the system about the impact assessment, what this impact, the product or the service is going to be impacted for. They know about this, and if this can be funded on. So good to know about that. There are the organizations.
Yeah, there is impact investors. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very first time that I came to know about this thing, because prior to this, basically I'm into the CSR,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whatever the startups or the innovations are coming, that's been hugely or highly been funded by VC or the other modes,
Yeah.
of course, which are
Yeah.
asking for more of the interest or more of the profit making things actually.
Yeah.
Good to know on this. And of course, the last part, we all know how the Finland is into the education, and it is last 10 years or so. Finland is actually the benchmark across globe. We keep on looking around for Finland for the education system. India too will be actually going around likewise.
Yeah.
In step by step, we too are following, but still there are certain lacunas, certain system will be there, which will remain, I do think, for because of the societal norms and so. Thanks for this frugal innovations. I was actually once I came to know about this frugal innovation because I was knowing about the frugal terminology during my uh, BTech actually days.
Yeah.
But I do know that this frugal terminology, that frugal innovation, is very new to the people of India. They know the jugaad, but they don't know exactly what exactly the frugal
I
innovation.
think there is this thing about like they because they don't know what frugal they think jugaad is frugal innovation. That's also something that we we at Frugal and we try to like clarify to people is yes, the mindset is the thing. You need to have that because you're thinking differently. You're trying to solve the issue, but you take that mindset and put it in a more structured manner. Then it becomes frugal innovation, like in a way that it can be scaled and it can be done as a proper frugal innovation where it is a business proposition, not like an individual jugaad.
You are really looking out for the capital in terms of capitalization of those innovations. You need to be with the proper mechanism, proper structured activity. Like you're talking about the design thinking. People do know about the design thinking in India. Now,
the needs assessment, what you said is something similar to design thinking, basically.
So that's how the things are there in India, of course, but the terminology is different and the mechanism of doing actually or mechanism of capitalizing these things are different. That's how. Thanks for today's session. I request Sangeeta to present certificate of gratitude to our dear guest speaker for today's session, Mr. Venkata. We keep on discussing on this, and once we are meeting it at SAIC with the students, then because one-to-one the interaction will be more, and the offline sessions we keep on interacting on those things. Thank you for once again, Venkata, for this enriching sessions.
Thank you for having me.
I say to all those students, those who are here, because they have the exams in coming weeks, but still 4 or 5 or 6 students they are there, and this recording will be actually very much useful in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the understanding of the Frugal innovation, and in terms of the project. So thanks to you all. I give this floor to Sangmitra to convey the vote of thanks. Thank you. Sangmitra, would you like to convey the vote of thanks to Mr. Venkata? Okay, students, any questions?
Yeah, you could reach out to me, also. My email is venkata@innofrugal.org. So if you have something, reach out to me via email. I'm always happy to, share my thoughts and like guide you or like, point you to anything if you need.
I will be sharing this email ID to all the students also. And if
Yeah.
at all we have any query for today's session, I will let you know personally too. Thanks, Venkata, for today's session.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You
Have
too.
a good day. Thank you.
Thanks,
Namaskar.
everybody. Yeah, bye.